Breaking news, Trump's one big beautiful bill just passed and it's about to shake up your entire life. From your home and healthcare to what you eat, how much you pay in taxes, and who gets to stay in the country. Whether you own a home, rely on Medicaid, get food stamps, have student loan, or just trying to survive paycheck to paycheck, this bill has something in it for you. But not all of it is good. In this video, I'm breaking down exactly how it impacts housing, taxes, healthcare, SNAP, student loans, income, and immigration. So let's talk about what's really going on with this new bill that just passed. It's officially called the One Big Beautiful Bill, and yes, that's the actual name. But what's inside it, not so beautiful for everyone. If you want to read it, you can find a copy online. It's over 1,000 pages. I did go through most of it, so you don't have to. And in this video, I want to talk to you, not as an expert, but as someone who's living through this right alongside you. Whether you're trying to budget better, buy a house, or just keep your family covered, this bill is going to disrupt something in your life. So let's break it down together. Let's start with taxes, because if you've ever heard anything about this bill, you've probably heard about tax cuts. And yeah, those are real, but they're not all created equal. The tax brackets from 2017 are now permanent. That means if you've been paying around 12% or 22%, that's sticking. Good news, right? But here's the thing. The child tax credit is going up to $2,500. Only $1,700 of that is refundable. So if you don't owe a lot in taxes, you won't see all of that. In fact, millions of families still won't get the full benefit. There's also a new rule: no tax on tips and overtime, but only if you make under $150,000 a year. That helps workers in restaurants, salons, and shift jobs, but the savings might not be enough to make up for the other costs that are going up. And if you live in a high tax state like California and New York, you're gonna love this. The SALT deduction cap is going up from $10,000 to $40,000. But again, who does that help? Mostly high earners who itemize. There's also something called the Trump account. You get $1,000 if you have a baby and can contribute up to $5,000 per year. It's tax-free, but it only works if you can afford to save money in the first place. And for seniors earning under $75,000, it's a $6,000 deduction. Helpful, but not really groundbreaking. Finally, if you buy a car made in the US and you make under $100,000, you might be able to deduct up to $10K in interest on that loan. Let's talk about healthcare, because this is where things get serious. This bill includes nearly $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid over the next decade. That number is hard to wrap your head around, but here's what it means: fewer services, tighter state budgets, and a ripple effect that could impact all of us, even those with private insurance. Now, hospitals and clinics often rely on Medicaid reimbursement to keep therapy programs, pediatric care, and specialist visits running, not just for Medicaid recipients, but for everyone. If those funds disappear, private insurers may raise rates, cut coverage, or delay approvals. It's a domino effect that starts with cuts to the most vulnerable and ends up making care harder for many families. There is also a new requirement that adults aged 19 to 64 must work 80 hours a month to stay eligible for Medicaid unless they qualify for an exemption. That's on top of stricter checkings every 6 months instead of 12. So if you miss a deadline, you'll risk losing coverage. And even if you qualify, there's a new $35 copay for doctor visits. That might sound small to some, but for a family that's on a tight budget, that's a barrier to basic care. And I'll be honest, the thought of these cuts keeping a child from getting the therapy or care that they need, that's what really scares me. Healthcare should not feel so much like a luxury, but this bill is pushing it in that direction for a lot of households. Now, let's talk about food stamps. Because if you're using SNAP benefits or you know someone who is, there are some big changes. SNAP is being cut. On average, families could lose about $100 per month, and with grocery prices still high, that hurts. New work requirements are also kicking in. If you're 55 to 64 or a parent with kids over 10 years old, you'll need to show that you're working at least 80 hours a month. If not, your benefits could stop. States have to now help fund SNAP as well, which could lead to restrictions or fewer people qualifying depending on where you live. Now for student loans, here's what's changing. There are new limits. Students can borrow up to $250,000 total. Parents, they get $65,000 lifetime. Grads plus loans are gone. And it gets tighter. Deferments for unemployment or hardship also gone. You'll only have two repayment plans, standard or income-based. That's it. And for many borrowers, that means higher monthly payments. There's also a new tax on big college endowments, which means a lot of these big universities and colleges may have to pay more to the government, which could change how they spend money on students or campus programs. That might not seem like it affects you, but it could mean fewer scholarship or reduced aid for future students. Let's talk about your paycheck because this bill changes how much money you keep. You won't pay income tax on tips anymore up to $25,000. If you work in a job where you get tips, like servers and delivery drivers, you can now keep more of that money. The first $25,000 in tips that you earn won't be taxed by the federal government. If you and your spouse both get tips, that goes up to $50,000. This will help lower income workers the most. If you do make over $150,000 a year, this benefit will go away. Overtime pay gets a tax break too, up to $12,500. If you work extra hours or get overtime pay, you won't pay federal income tax on the first $12,500. And married couples can deduct up to $25,000 in overtime. Again, this only helps if your income is under $150,000 single or $300,000 married. The standard deduction did go up just a little. Everyone now gets just a bit off their taxes just for filing. Singles get $15,750, which is up from $14,600. Married couples get $31,500, which is up from $29,200. The goal is to help working families keep more of what they earn, especially in low to middle income households. All right, so let's talk about housing. Whether you're buying, renting, or investing, this part is for you. First, good news. You can now permanently deduct mortgage insurance, PMI, VA, funding fees, FHA. That lowers costs for many buyers. The mortgage interest deduction cap of $750,000 stays. If you live in an expensive market, this helps with predictability. There is also an expansion of the low-income housing tax credit. It should help build more affordable rental units, but that takes time. So, what got cut? Energy credits. So if you're planning on getting solar panels, energy-efficient windows, or installation, don't expect a federal tax break. Investors, on the other hand, they win big. Bonus depreciation is back at 100%, and the QBI deduction is permanent, giving landlords and developers a major tax advantage. Now, this is a major one. Immigration. This bill sends $350 billion towards border enforcement. Now, I know we've all been paying attention to the news. People getting rounded up, people getting arrested, people getting deported. This bill will also include funding for the wall, 10,000 new ICE agents, and expanded detention centers. Fees are going up for asylum seekers, work permits, and court filings. It also limits who can access federal aid, including victims of domestic violence and trafficking. It's a massive shift in funding and priorities that will affect immigrant families across the country. So, what does this all mean? If you make over $200K, own investment property, and don't rely on government programs, you might be loving this. You're saving thousands in taxes. But if you're a middle or lower income household, relying on Medicaid, SNAP, or student aid, you might lose more than you gain. Let's do the math. Bottom 20% of earners can get an increase of $150 in tax savings, but they can lose $700 in benefit cuts. Top 1% can gain $30,000 in tax savings and have no losses. It isn't just a tax bill, it's a shift in who gets support and who doesn't. Let's get real about who's most impacted, who's going to be hit the hardest. Homeowners in high-cost states may benefit from expanded deduction, but only if they earn enough to itemize. Renters and first-time buyers, there's no new help, and housing credits for green upgrades are gone. Low-income families with kids may lose food, healthcare, or student aid, even if they get a small tax break. Gig workers and tip earners get some relief on taxes but may lose Medicaid or SNAP access. Middle income earners, it depends. You might save on taxes but feel it in food and insurance costs. Immigrant families will face higher fees and less access to public benefits. Students and their parents will hit caps on borrowing and lose flexible repayment and deferment options. Real estate investors and high earners, you win big. More deductions, more credit, less oversight. If you're someone who's trying to make it, especially in this economy, this bill might feel like more weight on your shoulders. None of you seen what's inside this bill. What do you think? If you're a homeowner, a parent, a student, or just trying to make ends meet, you deserve to know how this affects you. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments. Are you gaining or losing from this bill? And how are you planning to adjust? Like and leave a comment if this video helped you to understand what's really going on. Isaiah 41 verse 10 says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will help you. I will strengthen you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Whatever changes this bill brings, good or bad, remember that you're not alone. Stay strong, stay informed, stay steady, and keep moving forward. Thank you for watching. Be blessed, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.